you for joining. Today we have a Pecha Kucha session with all sorts of different organizations affiliated with UT, and our wonderful presenters are going to talk about what their organizations have in terms of services and resources for LGBTQ, sexual and gender diverse folks, and BIPOC folks. So without further ado, we're just going to get started with our presenters, and we'll do some pop-up informational stuff towards the end. So I'm gonna hand it off to Katie, who will share with us a little bit. Thank you so much, and the floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. My name is Katie Redd, and I'm here today to represent the services that are provided at the Counseling and Mental Health Center. I don't have any slides, so I'm not doing this the Pecha Kucha route, but I'm just going to kind of go through some of the resources that we provide. So right now, everything at the Counseling and Mental Health Center is offered, everything that we would typically provide, and everything is virtual. So everything is offered via telehealth right now. So our typical suite of services are group counseling, workshops, short-term individual counseling, psychiatric and medication services, and those are all provided virtually. So after calling the Counseling and Mental Health Center to speak with a counselor about options and what it is that you're experiencing, you would be referred to one of the services that CMHC provides or one of the services in the community. I wanted to mention a few things that are, our services are available for any UT student that is enrolled, and then we've got specific services that are available for folks of certain identities. So we have some groups and workshops that are identity-based, several different groups. A couple that I want to highlight right now are, we have a group for students that identify as queer and or questioning, a group called Tea Time, that's a group for trans and queer or non-binary folks. So those can be helpful avenues for students who might identify in that way. We also have a what's called our Diversity Counseling and Outreach Specialist program. And this is a team, although any counselor at the Counseling and Mental Health Center is able to work with any student. It could be that a student wants to see a counselor who shares an identity with them. So we have this Diversity Counseling and Outreach Specialist program, and we have folks on staff who liaison and work with the LGBTQIA community. So if that's something that would be beneficial, we hope students take advantage of that. We also have, I just wanted to highlight, we talk a lot about group and individual counseling. There's a lot of workshops that we provide that are offered by counseling staff. So there's psychoeducation type groups where you learn some very specific coping skills. They're typically offered, you'll attend one or two or multiple sessions, but they are typically, you can come in at any time during the semester. We have some that are specific to coping with COVID. And we even have a workshop on how to find a counselor in the community. So there's a wide variety of workshops that are available, and I encourage you to check those out as well. And then the last thing that I want to mention is we've built out some more virtual resources for students. So we have a whole list of virtual mindfulness and stress reduction items, and I'll share the link to that afterwards. So it's a curated list. We recognize that there are so many great resources that are out there and available to practice mindfulness already. And what we've done is just kind of put them together in a guide. So I'll share that link. We also have Canvas modules that students are able to take, and we also provide those to faculty so they can insert that module into their class, and they're on a variety of health topics. And we also have our counselors, several of our counselors and Longhorn Wellness Center health educators have done part of what we're calling a mental health quick tip video series. So we have videos of counselors and our health educators kind of going through some of the most common student concerns. So there's topics in there that include things like sleep, motivation, even how to use the Counseling and Mental Health Center. So those are some of the resources that I wanted to make sure that I mentioned. I'll follow up with links and share those with Yona afterwards.
Thank you so much. Well, if anyone has any quick questions for Katie before Katie heads off, otherwise we can pass the mic over to Liz Elson and Ariel from, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, from the GSC. Thanks again, Katie.
Yeah, I have a presentation at 1:15, so I'm gonna sign off, get logged into there. Bye, everybody.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to let you know I'm about to share the screen, so don't be alarmed. I will do that right now. And my name's Liz. I use they or she pronouns. I'm the director of the GSC.
Yeah, and my name is Ariel Juarez. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm a student staff at the GSC.
All right. Can everyone see my screen in the presentation? Fantastic. All right. So, some of you might know the GSC is both the Women's Center and the LGBTQIA+ Center at UT. We've been around for 16 years and we're founded for and by students. So that's like the main focus of what we do. And I'm going to toss things over to Ariel.
Awesome. Cool. Liz, do you mind if you can move like to the next slide?
Oh, did it not show up as the next slide for you? Oh, weird. I'm looking at it. Did that not work for you either? You're still all on the first slide? Oh my gosh, I've never had that happen before. Let me unshare and reshare and I will figure something out. That is really weird. Cool. Well, I'll just do it instead of from the speaker view. I'll just do it from like just the regular PowerPoint. So you can probably just see it if it's just like on my desktop. So can y'all see, can you see the slide, Ariel, the one that okay, great. Sorry about that. I don't know why the presentation wasn't working.
It's okay. Yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, so one ways that the GSC does community is one of our things that we do is we have over 30 student groups that are affiliated with the GSC. So some of the few groups that I'm gonna like just plug in is Hangout, Gamma Rho Lambda, HERE, SLC or Student Leadership Committee, the Feminist Action Project, Sub Club, and a lot more. And also some of the other things that we do is we create events throughout the semester in every semester. So one of our upcoming events that we're gonna have is gonna be the National Young Women's Day of Action, where we're gonna have keynote speaker Danielle Fuentes Morgan come to talk to us about pop culture, TV, and some Black women friendships. It's gonna be really fun. And then I also want to bring up a few things that we have, some of the challenges that we have now with the organizations. So the professional staff actually sends an email to student organizations and asking them if they need any help of advising from them. And we haven't not been able to hear from many of them. So it's a bit hard to be able to reach with some of our orgs. And then personally, as a student org leader as well, it's been really hard to recruit and also table. I think tabling virtually has been a little bit hard. I know I will sign up for events and me and my officer would just stay there for about an hour, just speaking to ourselves and not having students coming to, to just know about the organization. So that's been a little bit of a challenge for us. And then one really big thing that I've been seeing is that for many student leaders is that creating and welcoming community virtually has been a lot to process. So many students a lot of these leaders are stressed out, just kind of knowing that there's low students coming into these meetings. So like how are they able to create something, where students can meet up and learn from each other when, people aren't able to come to them. So yeah, I'll pass it on to Liz.
Yeah, we're probably about like half on our orgs. Like half of them are still like meeting regularly. Some of them have been really creative, like Hangout, made a whole Discord server where they're all connecting. And some of them, it's just like crickets. We don't even know if the students are enrolled in the semester or not. So it's just, we're trying to get creative. And so we're still doing all of our weekly events that we can virtually. So we have our Women of Color discussion group and Queer Voices discussion group. Those are with the Counseling and Mental Health Center. We're still doing Trans Thursdays, and we're still doing our virtual Feminist Friday, which is happening right now on a different Zoom room. So if you're ever free Friday at 1, feel free to join us for those.
Yeah, so I'm going to be speaking about some of the overall challenges that we have with the GSC. So one big thing is that we are kind of also known to feed a lot of our students and just people at the GSC at the center. So that's been really hard. We can't feed people virtually. And then also another thing is that we also had regular, every Tuesday, we had regular testing for HIV that anyone in campus is able to come and get tested for. But because of COVID, we are not able to do that since the GSC is closed at the Student Activity Center. And then also, it's just kind of hard to connect with without having a physical space. I know for myself and for many other students, the GSC is a space that we all kind of go together and like are able to hang out. So it's a really big, hole in my heart that I can't have with the, without the GSC. And then generally, people are just feeling Zoom fatigue. And then just many other people don't want, so many of them aren't able to come to campus. And then lastly, the GSC helps so many students, and it's been really hard because they're physically and emotionally far away from us. So we help out many students are international, now many who are in other different time zones, people who are not in supportive environments or don't want to be outed, or just those that are taking semesters off. So that's been a really big hit on us.
And our students are unbelievably creative. We have some that are in unsupportive environments that will pretend like they're in a class with their headphones on, and they'll be participating in the chat while they're saying like, oh, Charles Dickens said that. It's so amazing to see how they do it. And it also like is heartbreaking to think about them having to navigate that and the level of exhaustion and code switching and trauma that some of them are navigating during those processes. So they're really creative, and we're trying to be creative too. So we're doing Resource Thursdays where students can check books out from our library, come by the GSC. We have a whole little stand outside the space with tampons and condoms and dental dams and pads and some canned goods and some snacks. We're doing a lot of Zoom mixers and events, virtual ally training. Our whole Peers for Pride class is virtual. We're trying to do some fun stuff like some Netflix parties, and we're really mobilizing our crisis fund. We kicked it off in January, thinking maybe 3 or 4 students would use it in the first year. Within the first 3 months, we had 26 students that we'd given over $7,000 to, because what crisis has totally changed in the last 6 months, right? So we're trying to figure that out. And programs that are super successful that would be really irresponsible to have during COVID, like several hundred students all in the same room trying on different clothes, breathing on each other, our clothing and stuff swap, we're making virtual, where we're putting it all on a Google Drive and students can go through and request things. And that kind of leads us to our next slide.
Yeah, so some of the needs that we believe we kind of need is that we are asking for donations for our crisis fund. Like Liz said, we have been able to donate more than $7,000 to 26 students, and there are still students who are still applying to our crisis fund. So being able to be funded to be able to fund those students is a really big thing that we need. And then lastly, we are asking for donations for our clothing and stuff swap. any clothing or stuff that I don't really use, so don't need anymore, that would be greatly appreciative. We ask if you're going to want to donate to email the GSC. And also share them with your networks. Our event is going to be around November, so hopefully we're able to have a lot in our Google Doc, and students and anyone else can request for a lot of these closings that we're going to have. And then lastly, I want to give out a little shout out. So in that picture, we have our 2018 National Young Women's Day of Action keynote speaker, Tracy Dion. She recently got like New York Times bestseller lists. So that's really amazing for us to hear. And so yeah, are there any questions from anyone? And thank y'all.
Are y'all still letting people apply to the GSC Crisis Fund?
Yes, ongoing crisis fund. We will give out that money until it's gone, and we're just going to keep asking more people for it. So yes, by all means, please direct people. There's a tab on our website that says crisis, and it's like a lot of campus, Austin, and national crisis resources and information about the crisis fund.
Well, thank you all so much for presenting. You had so much great input, and we hope to share some of these resources on our website as well. Thank you again for all that information. I'm going to pass the mic over now to Jason, representing the Wellness Clinic, and take it away.
Well, thank you so much. I just want to say, first of all, how wonderful it is to see people with all these wonderful social movements. It's very inspiring. And I'm figuring out how to share my screen right now. So I think I found it. And can you see it? Can you see the screen? Okay. All right, let's do this. Okay, everyone. So my name is Jason, and I'm a nurse practitioner with the UT School of Nursing Family Wellness Clinic. I'm also a clinical instructor at the School of Nursing, teaching advanced health assessment, and an acupuncturist. And so right here, this is the part of our flyer, which I'll try and put in the comments section in case anyone wants to download it. But we're a primary care clinic right next to UT, right off of I-35 and Dean Keaton. And we see birth through death, primary care, and, acute care and chronic disease. And we also have a children's wellness clinic that's in Del Valley, and that we see only children. It's right behind the high school, the Del Valley High School, and we do vaccinations and children's wellness care. And so the Family Wellness Clinic and the Children's Wellness Clinic, our mission is consistent with the School of Nursing's mission, which is to advance healthcare of the public through developing and disseminating new knowledge about health, healthcare, health delivery through scholarly inquiry, as well as providing consultation, healthcare programs, and healthcare services in response to emerging and urgent public healthcare needs. And so our services involve acute treatment of illness, such as sore throats, or if you fell down and hurt yourself, as well as chronic illnesses, including hypertension, diabetes, thyroid issues, and we do annual exams and prevention, as well as sports physicals for adults and children, vaccinations, and we can do simple procedures such as suturing, removing warts, etc. And we do have within our scope limited psychiatric care for depression and anxiety. And unfortunately at this time we're not screening for COVID-19, but we can monitor patients from their home through telemedicine. In addition, we do women's health, including PAP and HPV testing, mammograms, family planning, sexual health and wellness, including screening and treatment of STIs, and we do transgender wellness and hormone replacement therapy continuation. Although we do not do yet initiation of hormone therapy, we can refill people's medicines if they need it. And so some of the perks of our clinic is that most of our staff is Spanish speaking, and we do have a social worker on staff, and she's able to provide counseling and connection to local resources. We do have a public health nurse on staff, and our clinic is connected to multiple university research projects. And I myself am going to pilot an acupuncture program. Probably will get started by the end of November, and we will be accepting patients for pain management through acupuncture therapy, as well as stress and depression and anxiety. We are growing. We have a planned third clinic that's going to open in January. We're partnering with a fire department station, and we'll be on the first floor, and the fire department will be on the second floor. It's very exciting. It's in an underserved portion of Travis County in the very south, and we'll be able to reach clients in Hayes, Caldwell, and Bastrop County. So we're very excited about that. We do serve as a site for nursing and advanced practice nursing students, and we do have same-day and walk-in appointments available. We can see patients in person or in telemedicine, and just as an extra piece of information, we never shut down during the COVID crisis. We always saw patients if we were able to, if they screened okay for the COVID screening. We take multiple forms of insurance. It's just kind of a list here. You can glance it over. And we also have a cash payment plan. We start our visits off. A standard visit is about $65, but we can knock it down 20 if needed. And then we don't really turn away patients if they can't pay. But we can't really call ourselves a free clinic because of our status with the university. So kind of the way we get around that is we tell people they can make a payment plan. And then we don't pressure them to pay. They can just make a payment plan, and if they pay, then they do. And if they don't, then, you know, we just kind of don't worry about it. We write it off. And that's not for, you know, we try not to spread that information around because we don't want people to take advantage of it. But we really are of a charity organization, type of organization. We really do want to serve the people who need it the most. And that's our mission. That's our ultimate real mission, is to make sure that people get medical care if they need it. If they need specialty services or some type of advanced test or laboratories, we have special relationships with different providers and with CPL and with ARA, so that people can get x-rays if they need at reduced cost, or labs at very, very inexpensive cost. So here's our address and contact, and if you want to, you can just maybe take a snapshot with your phone if you need to. We're ready to see patients. I especially want to extend a warm welcome and invitation to any of the LGBTQIA+ population. It's a safe space for them to come. I know that some of the other sexual health clinics in town are a little bit busy, and we have got availabilities. So if you need a safe place for primary care, come on over. If you need some sexual screening, sexual health and wellness screening, come on over. We'll help you out, and if we can't help you out, we know where to send you. So that's the end of my slide.
Thank you so much, Jason. Quick question. So in your current 2 locations, do you know roughly the demographics that you serve and the folks that are coming in with the most need in terms of sexual minority health needs or mental health needs?
Sure. So we serve, our population is mostly Hispanic and African American. And as far as sexual minorities, we have some, but I think that the word is not out yet. We do, we're in touch with Ashwell and Kind Clinic for some of their patients who need primary care. And what we do is we let Kind and Ashwell service their infectious disease or their sexual health or their PrEP therapy, and then we'll take care of their hypertension or their sore throat, and then we kind of talk back and forth.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so thank you so much, Jason. We will pass the mic over to Tiffany with Shift, and take it away.
Okay, thank you. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, beginning. All right, let's go back to the beginning. Okay. Hi, everyone. So my name is Tiffany Cunningham, and I am the Community Engagement Coordinator for an initiative called SHIFT here at UT. And SHIFT, what we do is we aim to shift the culture around substance use and misuse towards one of holistic well-being while cultivating a more mindful student. You know, substance use is often an expected part of the college experience, and we would like to challenge that by shifting the conversation. We aim to do this by reducing consequences and enhancing what we call protective factors. So you might have heard of something called a risk factor, which makes you more at risk to engage in potentially harmful behaviors, while protective factors are kind of exactly the opposite. They buffer you and protect you from potentially engaging in those. So these can be things like encouraging a sense of belonging, raising awareness around available resources, and supporting positive relationships with staff, faculty, and peers. You know, when we talk about culture, we know it's a really hard thing to define and address because we're all part of it and we're kind of like in it. But we're striving to create a culture of care and community that supports all students and all of their identities. So a majority of our UT students actually have a healthy relationship with substances, and many choose to not use it all. And we're trying to amplify those voices and make them more comfortable and welcome. And I want to be clear that SHIFT isn't actually an abstinence-based program, nor do we only focus on folks who misuse or might have a substance use disorder. Rather, we support everyone along the continuum of use. We want to reduce those harms no matter where you are. And then additionally, we have conversations about all substances, so it's not just alcohol. For example, we talk about cannabis use, vaping, and study drugs. So SHIFT, we call ourselves an innovative program because it integrates the classroom, the environment, and encourages peer-to-peer connection and harnesses the student voice. So we have what we call 6 different pilots where we're meeting students in places they interact, like all the places they interact as a college student. So we're teaching UGS professors how to infuse protective factors, which we mentioned before, directly into their teaching in classrooms. And we're also teaching peer mentors how to do this. So for example, we've talked with FIG and TRIG advisors and mentors on how to incorporate protective factors into their weekly meetings. And kind of the cool thing about this is that students might not even know that it's happening, but it is, which is great. And we know that students don't spend all of their time in the classroom. So we're engaging community partners where students live, work, and play to create a safer environment wherever they're at. And then additionally, we're working to provide opportunities for students to engage by hosting events, having educational opportunities, and working with other campus partners to offer events and experiences that aren't centered around substances. Additionally, be on the lookout. It's in the works for a peer-to-peer communication toolkit that will support students and encourage them to have open conversations around substance use. And then our last pilot, which really isn't a pilot, but I want to make sure I mention, is called Shiftivation Awards. So what we do here is we offer grants to students, staff, and faculty through these Shiftivation Awards. We've set aside a large amount of money to award to, like I said, it's all students, staff, and faculty that have ideas about how to change the culture. So we believe that culture change can't happen without the involvement of the people that make up that culture themselves. So this allows us to encourage creativity and offer financial support along the way. If you would like more information about it, you can check out our website, which I will give at the end of this presentation. And then lastly, something that I wanted to talk about is our student advisory board. So we really strive to have student voices at the center of our work. So if you would like to get involved, please check out a meeting and how to get involved that way. You know, we want to hear your voice and what shifts you would like to see within your culture. So our first meeting is actually this upcoming Wednesday, or the first meeting of fall 2020 is this upcoming Wednesday from 4 to 6. And we're going to be talking about Shift, provide information, where we've been, where we're going, opportunities to get involved and hang out with some pretty cool students. And then if you'd like to be a part of that, you can email me directly and I can answer questions or give you the Zoom link. So here's my direct email address. We also have Shift's email and then our website. And don't forget to follow us on social media, please. Here at UT, we have really passionate students, staff, and faculty that genuinely care about themselves and others around them. So by creating a culture of care here at UT, we hope that students will have a more rewarding experience while they're here and throughout the rest of their lives. So we honor the intersectionality of each student's experience, and we know that there's often, cultures, smaller cultures within larger cultures that influence decisions and actions. So please let your voice be heard and let your creativity shine by connecting through the Shiftovation Awards or being a part of the Student Advisory Board and acknowledging that we all play a part in creating a culture of care. So that's what I have. If there's any questions.
I have a question. Do you offer workshops for teachers for how to incorporate these types of interactional approaches, I guess?
So we do. Right now we're working directly with undergraduate study professors, but we have like a recorded training that anybody can access on how to infuse these protective factors. So Jason, if you'd like to email me, I'd be happy to get you connected to that.
Yeah, that would be great. And what about as far as like incorporating these protective factors into like clinical practice? Is this sort of like would that work?
I feel like that would be a big pie in the sky dream, of course. And I think it would work. I think also restorative justice practices would make a lot of sense to infuse into clinical work. But yeah, protective factors focus on the environment and the community. So I think it would easily translate to clinical work.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting. I'd like to know more about what you're doing. I'll send you an email.
Please do.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much, Tiffany, for that wonderful presentation. We have so many great organizations and folks leading within the UT sphere. It was really great to hear. Okay, one more presentation. Our wonderful RA, Tasneem, is going to present on the Multicultural Engagement Center and QT PACA, which is a student org associated with the MEC. So take it away, Tasneem.
Oh, I'm muted. I'm sorry. Are y'all able to see the presentation version of this and not the Google Slides version? Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. My name is Tasneem Islam. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm currently an officer of the Queer Trans People of Color Agency under the MEC, the Multicultural Engagement Center. So I'm going to give you guys a little run through and then talk about what resources that we can offer y'all. So kind of like what the MEC does is like it was created based on like activism from students. Like students have been begging for a space like this for years and advocating for it. And so once we finally were able to like get a small space within the SAC, we created 6 student-led agencies. And I'm gonna kind of talk about a little bit about each one and what they do. Before I do that, though, I want to talk about the staff. We have 5 incredible staffers who support us in our projects, make sure that we have the funds and the resources necessary to create events and programming. So these are the people that you would want to reach out to, like if you have like any type of large projects or funds or scholarships or anything to share like that. And they distribute all of that information to the rest of the officers. Each organization works on leadership development, which is actually right now, I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. We support the university and like trying to advocate for more, QT and QT BIPOC students to be at this university and how to support them once they're here. And then we create like programming and events also to make sure that like we all have a sense of community and support at the university. These are a lot of the things that we had during the year, but obviously with COVID, it's all of these things are still in the works. We're still trying to figure out how to make all of these things virtual. The MEC space itself is open, but I'm pretty sure you have to like make a reservation, have an appointment and things like that. These are also, we have cultural competency workshops, event planning, community outreach. We also had study sessions and just like chill time, but yeah, with COVID, that is kind of disappeared. Okay, so these are our agencies. We have African American Affairs, Asian Pacific Islander American Collective, Latinx Community Affairs, Native American Indigenous Collective, Queer and Trans People of Color Agency, and Students for Equity and Diversity. I'm part of the QTPACA agency on there. And so each agency has evolved throughout the years. And I think we started off with like less than this. And so like, as more identity groups like come to campus and look for communities and support, they come to the MEC and like create a space for themselves, an agency for themselves if they don't already have one. So it's like always changing and growing. These aren't not just like the set in stone ones. For AAA or African American Affairs, I'm gonna have their Instas on every single slide, so feel free to follow them because they post, each account is very active in all their events and programming that they're doing right now on their Instagram. So these are just some of the events that they do with like New Black Student Weekend, Black Family Day, Fall Black Graduation, things like that. The Asian Pacific Islander American Collective, their Insta's UT AdPac, and they have their signature programs, like you bring out the Asian in me, Asian American in me, Asian American Leadership Institute, and the Breakthrough Conference, and like community meetings. And all of these things, what they usually do is like bring Asian Americans together to like discuss issues that we're dealing with in our lives, or like even like higher thinking political issues that we just want to discuss because they affect us. The Latinx Community Affairs, there's this UT Latinx, they provide their Leadership Institute or their summit as well, Adelante, community meetings, and they also have their graduations, which are in Spanish. Native American Indigenous Collective, they hold events like the Four Directions, Indigenous Peoples Day, Feast on This, UT Powwow, and the Spring Symposium. Their is NIC_UT. And then the Queer and Trans People of Color Agency. So we have the Block Party, which is like a welcome event to welcome all the queer and trans people at UT to the university. We had it virtual this year, and it was a bunch of drag shows. It was a bunch of student orgs that were queer and trans oriented to present themselves and their resources. And we hold like bruncheons and drag ball events. And we also have a ton of like community meetings throughout the year. All of this is virtual right now. But one thing is that each agency has funding. Even though we're not allowed to give it directly out to students as a crisis fund, we are allowed to like create care packages and things like that. And so if anyone has any idea of like what students need right now that we can like buy for them, that would be wonderful. You can send us DMs at QTPocket_UT or any of the other agencies as well. And then lastly, Students for Equity and Diversity at UT_SCD. They hold more like multicultural events rather than focusing on like a specific identity or things like that. It's like Justice Jubilee, kind of like a resource org fair, and they talk about different ways to get involved in like multicultural organizations. And then they also have the Multicultural Leadership Institute, which is open to anyone and everyone who wants to just learn more about social justice or different history or modern day issues. And so you'll learn about it at the Institute. They're going to open their apps soon for that. And so how to get involved, just attend any of the leadership programs that we have. If you follow us on Instagram, they have the application for each leadership institute on there. And DMing us, like letting us know like the best way that they like students or staff or faculty can best like utilize our funds, like what we can do for the communities would be good. But yeah, basically what we do is just form community, create events and programming, and just support students, marginalized students as like best as possible. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Tasneem. Great presentation. If any of y'all have any questions, then now's the time for any of our wonderful presenters. Otherwise, we will end this wonderful conversation that we've had. Thank you all for presenting. And we will try to disseminate this presentation as widely as possible throughout the student population and the faculty population around UT and even community members. So thank you again for participating and sharing your wonderful resources with all of us. And I think we'll call it unless anyone has any last minute questions. All right. Thank you. Oh, yes.
I have one thing. I'm just curious. Do we do like inter-association, like social media blasts? Like, could I blast out Tiffany's organization and Tiffany blasts out Tasneem and Tasneem blasts out Liz's? Is any of that like organized? Have we ever done that before? As a way to like kind of spread awareness of like all the different organizations? To strengthen the
I
networking?
can speak of from the Pop-Up Institute. We can definitely do that. This is one of the ways is to create a video like that and also share that information on social media. So if for instance, the Family Wellness Clinic has like any social media accounts or something, we can also try to share that information or links to funding for like the GSC Crisis Fund or any SHIFT initiative events going on, or even student organizations and NHCs. So, and from the pop-up perspective, we're keen on doing that, and we'd love to do that. So you can reach us through email, or we can reach out to you, and we can try to coordinate some kind of mutual collaboration. If anyone else wants to speak for their organization.
My training's in medicine, so I don't know all about, media and advertising, but we're like trying to think about like how to spread the word, and like I've been inspired to think about how to strengthen the minority networking connections and make all of us minorities stronger, especially in times like this. And so forgive me if I hope I'm not over speaking myself by asking that, but I just want the best for everyone. So
Well, just looking at the comments, it looks like Liz noted a virtual bulletin board may be a good idea. Or we also have some email exchanges in the chat box. So some direct communication seems to also be a way to connect. But yeah, these are vital conversations that should be had. And when we're unable to meet in person to have these kinds of conversations where we can have the one-on-ones in the hallways, then it's much more difficult. It adds that other layer to try to collaborate. And so any way that we can try to facilitate that, either through conversations during these kinds of presentations or outside of that, is going to be so necessary. So again, thank you all for participating and helping to contribute to that conversation. And I hope that all of us can collaborate in the future. Thank you so much. I'm going to end the recording.